Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Grow Up, Level Up, the podcast where we talk about the fun and games that helped us grow up and how fun and games influence our lives today. And hey, if you're joining us for the first time, you might be wondering, hey, this isn't Samson and Jordan. This is Samson and a very special guest who I'll introduce in a second. But we are Grow Up, Level Up. We're a podcast where we do interviews about folks about how video games, board games, sports, how that influences their day-to-day lives and kind of hopefully influence you. Maybe this is not the word. Inspire you to see how you can put some fun and games back into your lives as well. Usually week to week, it's myself and my co-host, Sir Dr. JM, also known as Jordan, chatting about the games we've been playing every week and what activities we've been getting up to. But for those who were the OGs of Grow Up Level Up, we were an interview podcast where we chat with folks like our guest about how they integrate games into their lives. Maybe it's through their work, their jobs, their hobbies, and kind of explore that with them and hopefully inspire you to take a look at your own life and think about how you could implement fun and games and see the value in that. It's a long-winded way of saying, hey, I'm Samson. Welcome joining to our show. And today we are bringing in Raul Calero. Raul, welcome to the show.
Oh, good to be here. I've got apparently a lot to live up to your co-host.
It's been a while since we've done an interview episode, so I kind of wanted to frame it. So thank you for sitting through that long-winded intro. But Raul, thank you so much for being our first guest in a long time since we've done an interview. In 60 seconds or less, can you maybe introduce yourself and who you are and your claim to fame?
Yeah, so my name is Raul. Over the past decade, I've been working in various roles in the esports industry, starting out with wanting to be a player, not doing too well. You got to be really good. But quickly moving on to hosting, organizing events, and then later on with working in production. That led me towards taking on more software development skills, where I'm currently working as a freelance full stack developer for the last 4 years or so, developing tools for clients. And I'm also working on a personal AI Valorant coach project, which I guess we'll probably get into a little bit later.
Ooh, that's exciting. Yeah. Esports is in the DNA of Grow Up, Level Up for sure. We've had a couple of prolific esports folks in, like Adam. We've had a couple people making like also podcasts around the esports scene in Vancouver. So I'm sure we'll chat about that. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Before we start, I do need to ask, what are you drinking today on the podcast?
I forgot what brand it is, but I got some milk tea from like TNT.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's kind of like the generic brand or whatever they got there. Just kind of bought that and I got hooked on it ever since a friend recommended it.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, I got something kind of similar. I was looking for something unhealthy in the fridge, and then I ended up picking up this, I guess you could consider it a little unhealthy, but it's cookies and cream protein shake by Alani. So it's kind of like a milk-ish kind of
like the unhealthy healthy version.
I'm losing weight by drinking this 140 calorie. How much sugar is in this? Like a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's certainly better than my pick. But...
Yeah. Other question I ask the guests is, what are your top 3 games of all time? Could be any type of game. Doesn't have to be a video game, but top 3 games of all time.
Oh, for sure. I knew this question was coming, and it took me forever while I was like showering, trying to think what would be my top 3 games. So
yeah, it's a tough one.
It is. So I go with the one that I guess spend the most time on. So number 1, probably the most impactful that I've had is League of Legends. I actually don't play much nowadays, but I think this is what started me towards my esports career and journey. Just because I've met a lot of friends and people over the internet and local as well, like friends from high school, just from playing this game, and it's just been such a big part of my life. As salty and toxic as it can be sometimes.
yeah, its reputation. Yeah.
Game number 2. I mean, friends and I love to play trading card games, so our number 1 pick is like Yu-Gi-Oh. So now I'm kind of hooked on playing Master Duel. Just in my busy schedule, I can sneak in a little game here and there, and I'm actually planning a weekend where my friends and I are coming over to our place, and we're just gonna play our actual physical copy I got right here. But
heck yeah, the deck box and everything.
Game number 3. So I actually wanted to incorporate a non-video game or tabletop, just because another one that's near and dear to me is just I love playing volleyball.
Oh, cool. Yeah, yeah.
And so I get a lot of exercise and energy, and there's a lot of fun competition that I get to play as well. So I just getting my body moving and playing as opposed to just sitting down on my chair all day and then playing games, which I still love. But
I know. Physical stuff is important, and I think people forget. But sports are like games as well, right? It's like a common goal that's not necessarily going to change the world, but sports are games, so yeah, totally
yeah,
counts.
it's
Volleyball.
offline esports.
Yeah, meat sports. I heard people call it. Do you play like beach volleyball, or is it like at a gym, or?
I started playing beach actually when I first started playing way back in, I don't know, 2014, 2013.
Mhm.
But I much prefer indoor just because I get more traction and I can have more stability when I play. And
Yeah.
my play style is more quick and agility focused.
Oh wow. Whoa. I like volleyball too, but I usually just go to the sand pits at the park and play with some friends. No, that's awesome. Hey, and League of Legends, is that the sport you or the game you competed in in your pro esports career?
Pro, we call it pro.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I started with. So
Ah.
after graduation, so this is, I don't know, 2012, something like that. I wanted to go more into esports because at that point I had been playing League of Legends for about maybe 2 years. This is season 1, I guess, season 2.
Oh
I can't remember.
yeah.
Super
Way
early
back when.
days. Yeah,
Yeah.
way back when. So esports isn't really like much of a thing at that time.
True. You hear about the StarCraft people in Korea. That's about it.
Oh yeah,
Right?
yeah. Korea was a whole different world. I mean,
True.
we looked at, I think around that same time they had a documentary that came out that followed Jaedong throughout. There was a very prolific
Yeah.
StarCraft player. So
Yeah.
that kind of, I guess, inspired me to want to go down that route. And I mean, there was some pushback, obviously, from families saying like, yeah, esports not a real career, gaming, like, what are you doing? And I said, just give me a year, right? Because I'm young, 19, 18. Let me try this out. And if it doesn't work, yeah, I can continue down the traditional career path, school, job, etc. I got to about Diamond 3 was my peak. Not out of the realm of possibility, but I found that I was hitting a ceiling around that time. So hard to progress further. So I decided to just join a few tournaments, few teams, but I actually found that I loved the entire ecosystem of the competition and wanted to be more involved in the organizing and hosting rather than the actual play.
Yeah. Well, did you join through like a school, or was it through just networking that got you like your foot in the door for the esports scene? Or
So funny enough, when I joined it's not a thing anymore. It's not exist, but there was a group called Terracotta League, and they were just an amateur esports organization, super grassroots kind of stuff. Back in the day when LCS was starting to get going, I think season 2 or 3, right? So esports are starting to ramp up a lot, and these were the first guys that I saw out there that were making an LCS kind of format, like the round robin and everything. You have the promotion and relegation, but they broke it down into different divisions, so really advanced for their time, right? Like now you see it more commonly, but no one else was doing this. So you'd have maybe one-off tournaments here and there.
oh wow.
So I joined that, and then I played a few games, and I found, and just one of the other players was like, "Hey, there's no one streaming this match." And actually, let me pause there for a sec. At this time, there was no such thing as having like a tournament stream. You didn't have that. You would just have like a guy streaming their match, and they're one of the players, and that was about it. So me and another, I guess, buddy that I made on that said, "Hey, let's cast this match." Right? We were bad, right? That was
talking over each other kind of
yeah, I
thing,
mean, it was just like
yeah.
two guys kind of chatting about the game and not really know what we're talking about sometimes, but we had a lot of fun, and that generated traction, and we just started to do that more and more, and I guess that was like a foreshadowing of my eventual career in production side of things. But
yeah, no, that's awesome. Because well, I brought that up because like now UBC is like a huge esports program. We've had Jaden and Renzo on the podcast before, chatting about their experience. So it's cool seeing how you like we're kind of opening the door for that kind of next generation of esports for folks that are like coming out of high school, going into that age of, yeah, what am I going to do with my life? So
Yeah,
that's cool.
I remember when the UBC Esports Club formed. I actually met
Yeah.
some of the.
Yeah.
I was there. I wasn't like at UBC or anything, but like I had a lot of friends that went, and I got to meet some of the people that were organizing and creating it at the time. So
That's cool. Yeah.
really, really fun. I always love to join the UBC Esports events. They always got such phenomenal ones.
Yeah, definitely. If you're in the Vancouver area, they put on like awesome events. Good for all types of folks. Even if you just like video games and want to meet other folks that work in video games or are interested in it, they put on some really cool events as well. Awesome. And quick shout out to Yu-Gi-Oh! I've recently been getting back into like Magic and Pokemon and Lorcana. Like I got booster packs on the table ready to be opened.
Those are the most fun videos to watch. It's just people opening the booster packs and like,
I'm hooked. And yeah, I'm a card game guy too. So definitely have to check out Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, that might be my next card game addiction.
Yeah, I'll help you out. Don't worry.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for sharing your top 3 games. I want to dive into what you do for work. Because like you said, you got your foot in the door playing games, but through that you discovered, oh, I like production. Oh, I like development. It's been like what, 10 years on, more than 10 years on. What do you do for work now that is still within games?
Yeah, so to understand, I guess, the direction I took or why, I mean, if I go way back to as early as 2001, I got my hands on my first laptop, and this is back when we don't even have like cell phones that much. People had like the flip phone kind of thing. Like this is way back then. And my dad hands me a laptop, says, "Hey, I just got this from work. Go crazy with it." And so somehow I managed to download Duke Nukem. And without like, there's no Google either. This is like Ask Jeeves era, right? So that dates me a little bit. Download Google using terminal, or not Google. Duke Nukem using the terminal that I somehow found on some browser. Locked my dad out of the computer and put like proper security on it.
So I don't know, Dad. I don't know. It's like, oh yeah, I can get in. That's weird.
Pretty much, he's like, "How did you do this? Like, what do I even look at? Like, imagine not like giving technology to a kid whose only form of technology back then was a Game Boy Color, and like somehow managed to do that." So I think that kind of sparked my love for tech. And then fast forward to the end. So with the esports journey that we kind of touched a little bit on, I eventually went on to hosting and organizing events. And I found kind of almost a shadow or like a hint that esports winter that we're almost kind of in or coming out of it, that was coming on. There was so much difficulty around organizing events. It started to become a lot more popular. So I kind of distanced myself a bit into the production side. That's where I last left that esports side. Currently, now I'm working as a full stack developer. So I tried to take on learning the tools to build it for myself at first from that entire esports experience, and found that I love tech. I don't know why I didn't realize this earlier, but and that led me to go back to previous clients that I've worked with and build tools for them, and that led to more full stack applications. And now, while I'm doing that as like a freelancer, I'm also building my own tool for helping support the esports ecosystem, starting with the players, and my latest go-to game, which is Valorant.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about your project in Valorant. So for folks who don't know what Valorant is, we mentioned a lot of games already, but Valorant, since it's our highlight, it is a 5v5 tactical shooter from Riot. Same makers, same developers as League of Legends. And it's been out for a couple of years now, but it's maintained its popularity. When I worked like in schools, like kids, that was what kids played in the classroom sneakily. But yeah, it's still decently popular. So I'd love to hear what you're doing now within Valorant.
Yeah, I mean, we also sneakily played. It wasn't Valorant because we didn't have that back then, but we played StarCraft.
Oh yeah. Oh, I did. I did Halo and Blood Gulch.
We used to have a robotics team, but it was mainly like 90% of the year we just play StarCraft, and then the last week before the tournament we build a robot. But we also played with the teachers, so it was pretty.
Hey, you were
Um,
learning about something.
Robotics,
Strategy.
robotics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about the project. So right now, what I wanted to do is just before leaving my kind of roles in the esports scene, I wanted to develop tools at the time it was going to be for myself. I was going to create some production tools, or I was going to do something for a tournament organization. But I thought, okay, there's a lot of really good tools out there, like Battlefy, for example, something I used for the entirety of my career, who are also Vancouver based, by the way.
Yeah. Justin Wong. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's the creator. Great guy. Yeah.
definitely a great guy. I started to build tools for the player instead, and
Hmm.
the most fun that I had in my production time was with Valorant. I did a lot of match commentary and observer kind of stuff, so that was, I guess, near and dear to my heart. So I wanted to help with the players and the teams that I work so closely with, that provide them some tools. So I created a AI tool that it analyzes all of the previous matches and gives detailed insights on what are some of the round by round analysis of a given match. So how Valorant works is it's kind of similar to CS:GO, where you're trying to plant the bomb or plant the spike in context of Valorant, and each game is played in a series of rounds, and by the rounds, a whole bunch of events happen. So I collect all of these events and send it to the AI. AI says, hey, on this round, you actually didn't do too well with maybe ability usage, or your spatial awareness, your positioning was a little bit off, your mechanics might have struggled in this round. And those insights help give some player a lot more help, I guess. Coming back from that being a player from almost a decade ago, I found that I just had no idea what to work on at the time. And I noticed with some of the interviews I conducted with other players that they don't really have a clue what to work on. Either they
Yeah,
don't have a
everyone's
clue,
learning. Yeah.
yeah, either they don't have a clue or they don't have time. I mean, that was
Hmm.
the biggest factor. I found nowadays people have a better understanding and they have more resources, more information. YouTube's out there, TikTok, you can get like little bite-sized content of, hey, this will take your aim to the next level, and it's like an aim trainer program, right? So, okay, cool, I've got something to work on. But when it comes to the actual game aspect, what do you really work on? So I wanted to help supplement that for the players and save them time so they can focus more on the gameplay aspect and their mechanics that I can't give to them. But I can say, hey, based on maybe what you're struggling on these rounds, maybe I recommend this part of the aim trigger, do this maybe 2 or 3 times a day for 30 minutes, and you should see an improvement on that.
Oh, cool. Okay, so that sounds like it's not just like, oh, you did more damage here. Maybe you should try doing damage over there on the map. It seems to be like a holistic almost approach to getting better at the game, with being like, use it's like, try this session in the aim trainer. I don't know if you like go take a break, take a walk, and come back. I don't know if your AI does that. Um,
I
yeah.
am
So,
thinking of that.
okay,
Because
yeah.
I found, okay, I did some analysis on the average amount of games players play. I found it could be anywhere between 4 for like the more moderate side. Some people more like 2, 3, depending on how competitive they were. But I've seen as high as maybe 7 a day. And I was like,
Oh,
so
wow.
they're like the streamers who are doing it full time, right? So that made
Right.
sense. But on average, I found it was like 12 games a week, which
Oh,
is,
okay.
yeah,
That doesn't
for
seem like too much, but
it,
that does kind of make
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. And that's like a couple games a day. So
Yeah, because a Valorant game can last anywhere from like 30 minutes to 45 to an hour, depending on how it goes. So
yeah.
12 a week. Yeah, I guess that's almost like, well, maximum 12 hours a week. Like that
Yeah,
does
I
seem
mean
like a
that's
lot.
like an average case, right? Obviously, you have
Mhm.
more, you have less, right? So
Okay. And how do you like, what data set do you pull from to recommend folks what to do? Is that just from like a subjective your take on what they should do, or is there like some research backed um, data for what players should do based on the AI?
right now I'm focusing more on like the kind of basic aspects of let's do the data analysis that these players would have done. It's almost more like an AI analyst rather than a coach at this for
Oh,
the
okay.
starter. And based on the typical data metrics that you would see, like for example, hey, in this game I went a positive KDA, maybe I was like 1.2 or something. Average for Valorant is, by the way, is just 1.0. because for every kill there's a death. You can't respawn. So let's say I went 20 kills, 5 deaths, 15 assists, right? So those 3 metrics tell you quite a bit. You didn't die a lot, you got a lot of kills, and you were involved in a lot of fights with the assists. So that basic metric can give you like a starting platform. Okay, well, based on the assist, maybe there's some inkling that you have good spatial awareness, you have good positioning, you can work in with a team, right? A high kill means you have some good proficiency with your agent, maybe it's a weapon. But looking deeper, what you can find, for example, actually what started the project is Phantom versus Vandal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And we can go into that after, but
that's a whole other podcast in
yeah,
itself. Which God is better.
And basically the context is the Vandal is a very high damage weapon, but with as soon as you fire, it gives you a lot of instability. So it's more of like a one tap kind of weapon. But Phantom has good spray control, which is like you got more control, but you may not do as much damage. But of course, headshots do quite a bit. But if it's like through a wall or something kind of blocks it in the way, you might not get a insta kill, right? So that I wanted to solve is, yeah, it might be Phantom versus Vandal for the general player base, but what about for you specifically? Maybe you're better with a Phantom than a Vandal, but yeah, overall, people could say Vandal is better for if you're good at headshots. What if you're more of like a control kind of player, right? You're playing maybe Killjoy, who's good at holding a site. Well, maybe you want a more prolonged fight. Maybe you have denied vision. Maybe they're popping a smoke. You know, there's a lot of different things to consider versus just, is it Phantom or Vandal? It's how does your playstyle incorporate best with it? So with that, maybe majority of the kills were with a Phantom, but majority of your death involved a Vandal. So, and
wow, okay,
stuff like that. And there's also like, okay, is it map or agent specific? Maybe you're better with a Vandal on a different map, or maybe it's a specific round, right? There's so many different metrics to look at.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to know based on my playstyle, like which one's better. I think I like the Vandal more just because I can, on a good day, I'll hit those one taps, yeah. but you never know. So how does it work? Does it just watch your gameplay, or does it hook into the system somehow and you dodge the Vanguard anti-cheat, or how does that work?
Yeah, I try to avoid the more like connecting to the like during the game thing. So I wanted to keep that player integrity, because imagine having a full-on insight of what you are doing every single round while you're playing. I mean, it doesn't speak to the competitive spirit of things. If you're in a LAN tournament, let's say, you're not going to have that tool at your disposal. So that shouldn't be something you're relying on. So maybe in the future, I'll have a different mindset about it. But for now, what it does is it connects to the Riot Games API, and it pulls all of the completed match data. And then there's an ungodly amount of data that they provide. So it just analyzes through that, basically.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, yeah. For some reason, I was assuming like your AI starts watching my gameplay and is like, oh, he whiffed the shot and writes that down.
Yeah, there it is, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
The next update is going to be judging you instead of like helping you.
It's got a little face on the corner that gives you a head shake or like a thumbs up if you're doing good.
Just the thumbs down.
No. If I or somebody else wanted to check this project out or try it out for myself, am I able to do that right now, or are you still kind of keeping it behind closed doors?
I mean, I'm not hiding it, but right now it's not ready for like a public use.
Okay.
It's still in closed alpha, so I have invited a short list of people that I found could help with a lot of the feedback. So right now I've given it to them to try to test out, break it. They've done a really good job at breaking things so far.
Awesome.
And it's still in more basic aspects. So a lot of what I've mentioned, the foundation's there. It's not quite developed out for a website base, but it's something like if I type in lines in my terminal, it could work and get that data.
No UI yet.
Yeah, no UI, okay. nothing fancy just yet. So that part of the project of the more advanced stuff hasn't been rolled out just yet. It's more like, hey, let's analyze the matches. Let's get you basic feedback round by round, and let's make sure the site doesn't break.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the moment, it's I can share a link at the end. It's sparkgg.net. And there's a registration form that you can sign to be on the wait list. So when I am planning to do a public alpha, that anyone can just join and use, and it's going to be entirely free during that phase. But after the actual full-on launch, that might look a little different. There could be some aspects of, yeah, you have maybe X amount of games a month will be free for like a free tier. But after that, if you want more advanced analytics and more on that, then there's a subscription tier.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's exciting. So sparkgg.net if you want to sign up and try to get into the closed alpha. The public alpha will be out sometime in the future. We don't know. This is a personal project, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. If people want to keep up with you and like where and this project updates, where else can people find you?
Probably LinkedIn. I mean, my LinkedIn, Raul Calero, I guess, would be the best place to do that. I occasionally post updates. I'm planning to actually start posting regular weekly updates on the project, how it's going. Now that I've got it deployed and kind of some kind of public alpha or private alpha going. So.
Yeah. Awesome. That's exciting. So keep an eye out on LinkedIn. And if there's any other socials, we'll make sure to share that on Grow Up Level Up as well and in the description below. Awesome. That's a really exciting project. I really want to try that. Maybe I'll sign up for a form after. But yeah, and I think I know a few folks that might find that that AI interesting, and even just to see what you're good at that you didn't even know you were good at, right? Like,
yeah, one interesting thing I found that I think this really led me to proceed with the project was I used my friend as a guinea pig, and he plays a lot of Jet. And for context, Jet is one of the characters that has a lot of mobility. They can jump higher than most other players using one of their abilities, or they can slow fall kind of things, or dash away. And I found that he was underutilizing some of the skills. And that would have helped with his positioning. And for a map that had a lot of, I guess, vertical positionings that you can play a lot of different off angles, that could have been something that he could have done. And when I presented that to him and let him know, hey, actually, in the entire match, you use updraft, which is the it kind of dashes you upwards skill. You only use that twice. And he's like, oh, I didn't even realize, like, you're underutilizing the entire toolkit. If you're going to use maybe just your dash, maybe a different character might work better, or you can start using it, right? There's different ways to go about that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's so cool. Like, yeah, it's like this thought just popped in my head. It's almost like it's therapy for your game, where it's not going to fix your problem, but it'll give you a different perspective on what you're doing.
Yeah, I like to say it's just the guy huddling around the corner saying, you did this wrong. Hey, you should fix it.
Yeah, we got to get that little face in the corner soon.
Yeah, there's more positive aspects. It does have implemented a second, like a newer feature that talks more about your strengths. It might say stuff like, hey, actually, your mechanics are great. Let's leave that aside for now and focus more on maybe the weaker part. Maybe you have problems with spatial awareness or communicating with your teams. Communication is a little difficult because I can really only go off of assists based on the match data because I can't get audio or anything.
Yeah, you can't go back and see what if you were flaming your teammate or being a good team player. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're chat ban, I think that's good enough to tell you that you should work on that.
True. That's a good one. Awesome. Yeah, no, that's really exciting. I can't wait to try it out. If this takes off, would you plan on expanding it to other games, or maybe that's like a way farther off goal? I'm asking because I'm an Overwatch player, so I'm like, I definitely need one.
Oh, for sure. I definitely do want to do more games after this. Valorant is my start just because I built more, I guess, network in Valorant. Rocket League is the second one just because, like, again, same thing. I built a lot of network in that. And then Smash, just because Smash is so big in the Vancouver community. And I think, and we can even talk about that too, but in the Vancouver community, I would say the fighting games are probably the biggest esports in the entire community versus everything else, right? Like, you don't see much Valorant or League of Legends. I don't know about Overwatch too much, but I always see updates of like, hey, new Smash event or Battle of BC, which is one of the biggest ones here. So.
Yeah. Why don't we move right into that then? Esports in Vancouver. We're both in the esports scene, more or less. I, for one, were more on the Overwatch side when the Vancouver Titans were still around. Now that they're dissolved, like, I haven't been too fully in, but like you said, Smash fighting games, huge in Vancouver, huge in BC. Like even if I'm casually scrolling through Twitter or something, I'll see something about Battle for BC, which is the yearly big tournament in Western Canada. I think it's the biggest in Western Canada, maybe.
I wouldn't be
Probably in
surprised.
Canada,
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
probably. It's big.
Like you get everyone coming up for that. So esports in Vancouver, like how do you see the scene here? What's the biggest game? And why don't we just start there?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more Valorant and League of Legends or like Riot Games, I guess, kind of content. That's just because those are the games I played the most. But seeing all of the fighting games like Smash, Tekken, I think they have Blaze Blue, I think is another one that they
Blaze
have.
Blue. Yeah. Oh, you already mentioned Tekken. I was trying to think of the Riot one, 2XKO. That might be that might have its hooks once that's out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely been the most thriving in the community. And I found that if you're not in the fighting game community, all the other esports is done from UBC or SFU. And which it's great, but I'd love to see a lot more. I was great to hear way back when you mentioned it, the Overwatch Titans were a thing. I think that would have been such a huge growth that we could have seen from Vancouver. That was like our start. But it kind of fizzled almost. Like maybe pandemic had a huge factor in that, but
that Overwatch League is a whole topic onto itself.
But
that would have been a good start, because I think that was when and this is just my view. I feel like that was when esports in Vancouver like caught the public eye. Like the local news was covering it. Like my parents heard about it. My school friends, like I work in like public service, they heard about it. So it's like, oh, like I feel like this is catching on, but then it never really pushed past that. And pandemic and some mismanagement from all different types of sides, which is like kind of sad, because that was like the first spark. So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think right now it's just almost like there's no thriving community to keep up with the esports. Like there are probably a lot of interest out there or a lot of players, but there's not a lot of people who want to build and grow that community or want to put on those esports events, because esports event organizing is quite difficult sometimes. I mean, you dealing with community in general can either be really amazing fun times, or it can be really stressful and difficult depending on who's in you. And I think mainly that comes from UBC and SFU, where they have an ongoing community and there's a lot of new people coming in, right? There you get your graduating students that come in, join the club, and they're all excited. They want to host, organize events, and they want to play and compete. So that works there. But once people migrate away from it, then it kind of dies out, right? Like that, you just have that ongoing cycle in the campuses, but it doesn't extend past that. I think that's where the main struggle with Vancouver is. And what is it? Battle of BC has done a phenomenal job at keeping that afterwards, but it's only providing games. I think they have something else in there. I think they have some kind of TCG. I'm not sure, but
okay. It's like Street Card Battle or something.
Something like
Vancouver
that.
Card Battle. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've done a great job at keeping that flame alive in the esports scene, but we're not seeing much for Valorant or Overwatch or what else is there? Apex, Fortnite.
Yeah, there was the gaming stadium for a while, but even they struggled really hard to get traction and to keep events going and all that. So I wonder what the secret sauce is. And you said esport events are pretty difficult to run, and that makes sense, because like minimum, the first thing is you need 10 computers, and then you need 10 computers to all talk to each other and not freak out or lag, and then that's like step one. And then there's all the other parts about organizing an event.
Alternatively, what I've seen could work is like you host majority of it in an online portion, and then you have maybe the top 4 teams or something in a LAN tournament, but then that requires funding and stuff, right? You either have to charge your player to play, which not many people want to do, especially if you're like a college student, right? You got no money to even buy food sometimes.
Yeah.
And then to put on an esports event in a LAN tournament area, let's say like gaming stadium, right? I mean, beautiful facility, but not cheap to book, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And then other than that, there's like no other really place to do something like that. Like the ideal thing would be like a theater, and have everyone out front. But then how are you going to pack the theater, right? Is there interest to do
exactly.
this kind of stuff?
Yeah. And that's why fighting games work so well.
Okay.
Because what they do is fighting games actually work best on a CRT monitor, which
yeah,
right? Like
old
there's
school.
there's no latency, that's why they have that. And if anyone didn't know, and it's easy to bring that that monitor or like that old school TV, put it down somewhere and hook up a console that most of these players have, or you can even probably get it from somewhere, and they bring their own controllers sometimes, right? They've got the arcade kind of style controllers for the fighting games, right? For Tekken and for Smash, they're using the gaming control. Everyone's like, how else are they going to practice at that point, right? So that's why fighting works so well, because you don't need to have 10 different computers, and you don't have to coordinate with a whole bunch of teams and stuff to get things sorted. It's 1v1 usually. So it's easy to work with the 2 players to just show up and play. And if they don't show up, then you've got a whole bunch of other players that are easily can just hop right on in, right? Versus, okay, if this team didn't show up, now I got to find the next 5 other players to take their spot, and that's a whole other mess, right? So there's less coordination, less resources involved, and I think that's why Battle BC and fighting games in general just thrive so well in that.
I'd also like to throw in that fighting games are also easier to watch and follow. Like if I always use my mom as the litmus test, right? If she was walking by and she watched Valorant, she would not know what's going on.
Yeah.
She'd be like, oh yeah, I see the score up there, but then there's like 2 more rounds they have to play or something. Like, so that kind of makes sense. But then fighting games is like, oh, clearly I'm playing as Zangief, you're playing as Ryu. My health bar is bigger than yours. I'm winning.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you don't even need like a game screen to know like 2 guys are just beating each other up, and if the guy's on the floor not moving, I think you lost.
Yeah.
And I think Rocket League also is great for that too. It's the similar aspect. So I think Rocket League actually has a lot of potential to do the same thing, because you can actually do exactly the same thing. You can hook up a TV screen, and probably not as much, but if you're doing like a 1v1, yeah, maybe not the best the split screen, but a lot less resources to work with, and it's a great spectator sport because it's cars soccer, right?
Yeah, like everyone knows soccer, and even if you don't, you're like, well, the goal is to get the ball in the net, but we're cars instead of people. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I wonder what the secret sauce is to get more people from Vancouver interested in esports, because definitely people play games out here, right? Like, everybody's playing everybody's playing something. Even my mom plays Candy Crush again.
Yeah. So my theory on this is that to get a successful esports organization working in Vancouver, or some kind of community around esports and events going, that's not how you start it. You have to build and do something else first that generates the revenue, and you have to use the esports events like a marketing tool rather than the actual event itself, which is unfortunate. As much as I want to say, hey, like I just want to do esports and organize it, it doesn't thrive by itself. And you can see that with a lot of different events that have popped up here and there in Vancouver. And actually, it's not Vancouver in general, just even online events, you'll see organizations will come and go. They'll look like a big bolstering community, and then all of a sudden, overnight almost sometimes, they're gone. And the reason is that eventually someone else is going to create and put some funding towards another esports event. People will go to that, and eventually that saps away from that community, because, if you're going to play to win and compete, you might as well get paid in some way or another, and at least have that chance to. And if you do get that payment, then the ones who aren't paying are just going to struggle. And if they can't find funding or sponsorships, then they're not going to make it far. So if they're not self-sustaining away from the esports organizing, and I'm not counting marketing sponsors that have put money into you, that's a recipe for disaster. It has to be your own methods. And that's why these tournaments like Riot Games is putting on, Valorant Championship tournament and LCS, right? And you get more events that are successful from the gaming companies, because they're the game, right? They've got funding from their game to put into the esports, and now it's their marketing tool, and that's why that works, and that's why there's that struggle to continue that anywhere else, but in that context.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like the esport event can't be the main product or the first product. It should be product number B or C, number B, C. but the focus should first be like get your revenue from somewhere else, somewhere sustainable, and then use the esport event, whatever it is, the community to or use the money from project A to fund the project B esport event. Okay, that makes sense. And the company or the game developers funding their own esport events, that does make the most sense. I guess like my question for you is like is esports just destined to be a marketing tool for the game itself, or could it be more than that?
It's a difficult question.
I know, right?
I mean, it's hard to say, because if you also consider it that esports, it's not just one game. It's a myriad of infinitely new games coming out too. You've got a whole bunch of games that are from the past, right? You still got maybe esports tournament for as old as Tetris, but you also have esports games for as new as I don't know what's the new game that came out.
Like Pokemon happens every year, yeah.
Yeah, speed running, I guess, is also a thing. You speed run any game, right? That's any new game that comes out, who finishes it first, right? So I think because of that segregation with different esports community, it's probably going to be more difficult to say anything more than like, yeah, it'll be your marketing tool for at least the game developer perspective.
Okay.
But or if you're esports gaming adjacent, that you could use it. That's all I can see at the moment for a thriving one. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of communities thrive and grow up and level up themselves. There's actually one community that I follow. I should have the name off the top of my head, but they have been going strong for quite a while, and they're self-sustaining as an esports organization.
Okay, awesome.
And I can pull up the name in a bit, but
sure.
They basically, what they do is they work similar to like an LCS format, and they charge for the entry fee. But because they've been going strong for so long and they have a pretty solid production team and everything, that's how they sustain themselves. Now, I don't know how long that'll last, because if you don't have players, you don't have the esports event, right? Then, but I have high hopes that they'll go for as long as they can.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. If you can quickly look that up, I guess my next question for you is kind of similar to my last one, but like, what is your dream for the future of esports in Vancouver?
Man, I want to see it big.
Okay.
I want to see us back at BC Place, just having a huge esports, not just like a one-day tournament for like the playoffs of League of Legends. I want to see a full-on expo coming in with multiple games being played and like just like full packed stadium, and it's an esports weekend.
Were you around when Dota 2 came to Rogers Arena?
I missed it. I'm so sad.
No.
I feel like I missed all the big esports events that happen in Vancouver because I'm either out of town or I'm just so busy with work or something.
That was a really special one. I think I never played Dota, and I still haven't. Oh, maybe I played like one, but I don't know what's going on. But I was just in the area, and I was like, "What the heck? This is that guy from my Steam library." So I checked out the activations. It's like, oh, this is like the Olympics, but for just one game. So yeah, if they can do that again, that'd be really fun. And like, people here are passionate. People will come in. There's even folks that like are kind of whatever about esports. They'll still come out for sports. I think Vancouver gets a bad rap for like not being a very sports centric city, but people here like competition.
Well, I mean, the Canucks keep losing, so
that's not good for morale. That's not good for morale. We need an NBA team too. That's another whole
true.
other
We
podcast.
lost our Grizzlies, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, like I think more and more, and things change. Like, I think more and more people here want to see more sports, and we have two beautiful stadiums. We have like tons of sports facilities. I'm blanking on the name of the baseball. Nat Bailey Stadium. We have that.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
And people go out to that all the time, even if they don't follow baseball every time. Like people like going out and watching sports. So if we can somehow translate that into like an esport, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that it's not called BC Place anymore. It's called Rogers Arena.
No. There's still
Is
BC
it?
Place
Oh,
and
okay,
Rogers
what's
Arena, right?
Is it?
The two.
Oh man,
yeah.
I don't. Apparently, I'm not a Vancouverite.
Technically, we're both outside of the Vancouver region, so we get a pass. No, that's awesome. Well, we're getting close to the end of our episode here. Is there any other anecdotes you want to share about your experience working in esports so far in Vancouver, or your dreams for esports or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to bring up a context of how esports is. So on some statistic sites, I always forget the name of stuff. I should have them written down somewhere.
Okay.
Esports, although it sounds bleak, that what kind of context you put, like if you're not in the fighting community for esports, then you either in UBC, SFU, nothing else goes on. Esports still has a very positive outlook, even though we're kind of in that esports winter. I don't know if that's still going on, but there's a struggle with it. But it's still growing. You're still seeing growing numbers in the esports world community, at least, compared from, let's say, 2012 to 2020 and 2024. And they have projected numbers that are even almost doubling in some cases of the global community. And there's quite a lot of growth in that. And just to see that at least it's growing in some way, maybe it might not be specifically Vancouver, but when one rising tide happens, a lot of ships get pulled and rise along with it. A lot of people grow up and level up along the way too. So.
Thanks again. yeah, like there is growth. It's just trying to crack the code of how do we monetize that so that we can keep doing cool events like these and keep growing. Yeah, like I know to sound businessy, like, oh, we have to grow, but that's how we keep getting cool events like hosting at BC Place and Rogers Arena. So it's trying to figure out how to make us esports fans pay for stuff beyond skins in games or something. That's like the only thing I bought. Awesome. As we close out the episode, I have 2 fun questions to leave you.
Ooh, fun.
First one. Well, actually, do you want the fun one or the kind of serious one?
Let's start with serious and one on fun note.
Sure. So the serious one is, what is your one piece of wisdom to leave with the world?
Damn, I should have said fun first. This is tough.
It's okay. We'll end on a fun one.
Serious question. Okay, I got it. So I have worked with a lot of youth in my days. The last project that I did, aside from like a LAN tournament, was I did a production for a youth esports league that had different games. And a lot of what I kind of noticed is there was some struggle and challenges with, like, I want to pursue esports as a career and passion, and it's very difficult to do. The problem that could happen, and that I still want to encourage to young players in general, is just, it's hard to, as this is, keep on with a normal, like the traditional path, but you can still at the same time work on your esports career. It shouldn't be 100% of your time. And I think that's the struggle and mistake that I made in the past, is that I 100% went into trying to be a professional gamer, and that really slowed and bogged down a lot of other life aspects that I could have been more positively thriving in more. But continue on with your traditional path. And as you're doing that, prioritize some time to work on your esports goals and career. And make sure you're also diversifying yourself in that same way too, because what could happen is, if you're fully invested in your esports passion as a career, down the road, your passion becomes work and you might lose that love for it. And it becomes just a dredge of monotonous work every day. And you would be surprised how difficult being an esports player really is. So do the time to figure out what that looks like, plan your life ahead of you, and work your way backwards for what that's going to look like. And that may not be esports. That might be a hard answer for you, unfortunately, but I think figuring out what that looks like down the road will really help speed up a lot of mistakes that you could be making. But I mean, if esports lines up perfectly, then go full force too.
I love that. That's awesome. Like every kid wants to be the next tens. They want to be the next Ronaldo or Messi, right? Like
Yeah,
sports also works in this context. So, but yeah, like always have another plan, and you'll never know what doors might open up. And diversifying your skill set, I really like that. That's kind of my takeaway is like don't be the master at one thing. You can be the master at many things.
yeah. Because I found like exactly like you one thing could lead to another. You might actually change your direction completely. I mean, I
Mhm.
started out as a player and now I'm a full stack developer. Like that's yeah, there's some similarities in terms of like game and tech, but like that's not the same path at all. Right?
Yeah. Everyone's growing all the time, growing and leveling up all the time. So,
Mm.
so you never know where that might lead you. Love that. Thank you. Uh, so we'll end with the fun one. And my fun question for you is: if Grow Up Level Up blows up, it's the biggest podcast in the world. We like Joe Rogan is 1% of what we make in a year, right?
You mean
Uh,
when that happened?
when that you're right. When that happens, and I want to fund your dream project, your dream game could be, from start to finish. What kind of game would you make?
Does it have to be a game or just any
No,
project?
no,
Okay.
a project. Yeah, let's do a project.
Okay, because you know we're having an esports event in Vancouver.
Oh, okay, yeah. I see where I see. Keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna go big on that, man. We're gonna take up the stadium. Just basically what I said. We're gonna take a multiple day LAN tournament event, and yeah, we're gonna go fun with that. As many games as we can fit in there as
Oh,
possible.
heck
We'll
yeah.
have some overflow room, maybe in convention center or something. I don't know.
It's like DreamHack, but instead of Stockholm or Dallas, we're doing Vancouver.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
what there's some tech events that I've gone to where they have a tech week, and what they do is they have multiple events going on at the same time, but it's
Hmm.
all in like one kind of street or strip. So something cool
Okay.
like that would be amazing to see for esports. So like, yeah, you could have one building or one arena that has maybe the finals of some grand match going on, but maybe down the street also you have maybe a smaller or medium-sized stadium, or I don't know, we've got the two right in Vancouver
Yeah.
that are
Right
close
beside each
by
other. Yeah.
that you can have another big event. Maybe that one could be Dota, one can be Apex, something like that.
Okay.
But if you go even further down the street, there's also some warehouse or something. I don't know what they got down there. That
Go to the
or I
theater on Granville or the
yeah, that
convention center. Yeah.
convention center. Also, sometimes when they do what is it like the Cirque du Soleil, they also set up a tent. You
Oh
could
yeah.
probably do something like that, and that's right next to both arenas.
Mm-hmm.
Science World could be a venue, so it's like
Oh,
that
cool.
whole
Yeah.
little area, right? You can get
False
things
Creek. Yeah.
going of just events going on all around, and you can join any one of those at any time. That'd be crazy to see.
That's awesome. That'd be so fun. Yeah. What would the title game be for you? Would it be Valorant?
For me, yeah, it's probably no Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh. Okay. Yeah, I can
That'd be
see that.
that'd be the most fun thing to see. It's just like you go full on, like you know how you have like in the anime where they have the holograms
Oh,
of
they're
projection.
standing on the platforms like the diving boards, and they're playing, and there's holograms and stuff on the
Yeah.
TV.
Oh
That'd be
man,
sick.
that'd be. I don't think I'd do that, but that's like.
I got you.
But
When
I'd still love to see it anyways.
the funniest thing from the anime is when they like take hits to their life point, they're feeling physical pain,
Yeah.
like falling over. It's like, all right, guys, it's a calculator. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I love to see that. I love big events. I love esports is definitely something that has so much potential here in Vancouver, and yeah, let's throw on a big tournament for the city. Yeah, and for the
Let's do
world.
it.
Esports
Oh
is
yeah.
a very worldwide thing. Raul, thanks so much for joining me today on Grow Up Level Up. I hope you had fun on this podcast. Thank you for sharing your new project. Does your Valorant AI have a name yet? Actually,
Right now it's SparkTG, but I haven't technically like copyrighted it.
Okay, we'll keep it a
So
secret.
someone,
Maybe
it's,
later on.
it's
Cool.
okay. If someone takes it, I'm not gonna be too hung up on it. But
Cool.
right now, the working project name is SparkTG.
Cool. So check out sparkgg.net if you want to be a part of Raul's Valorant AI coach. Maybe it'll get you to no, it's not called Valorant, to Radiant one day.
Oh yeah, that'd be the goal.
Yeah, link in the description below. And if you do decide to sign up and you get in and you tried it, leave your feedback below, or you can message Raul on LinkedIn. So if you have any feedback on the show, leave a comment what you thought. I'm always trying to improve this podcast. I love doing it. I love meeting folks like Raul. This is kind of how we connected as well. So definitely let me know what you thought. If you want to hear more of Grow Up Level Up, you can find me at Grow Up Level Up on all the socials. If you want to connect with me directly, I am at Samson XP on all the socials. Raul, one more time, how can folks find you and your project?
Probably best on LinkedIn, Raul Calero on LinkedIn. And I guess I'll be on the post for this on LinkedIn whenever Samson puts it up.
Awesome. Yeah, connect with us both. We love chatting esports and looking forward to seeing where our projects go. Until next time, I don't actually have a sign off, but I am signing off. Talk to you later.
Grow up, level up.
Awesome. Done.